right, it is 1:30 on January 11th, and we are opening the Records Retention Committee meeting.
Okay.
We have Michelle Tremblay, our treasurer, participating via Zoom, and then the rest of us.
All right. So I suggested calling this meeting for two purposes. One is we were working on a project to get quotes for the digitizing of the town's records in order to have them all online, easily accessible, and for retention purposes to keep backups going forward. So I've gone out to 3 companies and received 3 bids. So I went out to a company in Vista Solutions that's out of Texas. They quoted for the software only $28,350. They did no record scanning, it was not included, and then it would have 160 gigabytes of cloud storage.
What was the name of it, please?
Vista.
Vista?
Vista Solution, I think it's Vista Solution Groups.
Solution.
Yep.
And how much was the quote, please?
$28,350.
Thank you.
And then we did, another one is New England Document Systems. They're out of Manchester. Their software fee was $6,000 plus $1,250 per year per user. I did all my bids for 5 users, figuring it would be town clerk, town administrator, tax collector, finance officer, and land use coordinator. But we can up and down that if we need it. Record scanning for them was $16,629. And their cloud storage is $150 per month for 3 gigabytes of cloud storage. But that's optional, we don't need to use that. Inception Technologies was the final bid I received. Their software is $5,940 plus $1,995 per 10-hour block of professional services. So you only buy their services when you need them, and you cannot use it if you don't want to, and it carries over from year to year.
So that was Inception?
Inception Technologies.
Okay, and it was, for the software was $1,540?
The software was $5,940.
$5,940. Okay.
Correct.
And what was the rest of it?
Plus $1,995 per 10-hour block of professional services. So that's when they set up a new, I can explain this a little bit more in depth later, but when they set up different documents or systems, a lot of it we'll be able to do ourselves. But say if we're setting up, for example, if you want invoices to go back and forth between Wendy, you, and Emmett, they would set up that whole chain of systems, and that's something we'd use professional services for.
Okay.
Russ, where is Inception located?
They are also out of Manchester.
Was there any storage with that one, Russ?
They include 20 gigabytes of cloud storage.
So that second company, the New England Doc, didn't
Still
have
have
a lot.
one. Did I give you the record scanning quote?
You did not.
So the record, I just want to make sure I get all the
I
numbers.
don't think you did anyway.
And their record scanning quote was for $15,136. So that's
50,000.
15,
50?
1,5,
1.5.
Okay.
136.
So that was for record scanning.
That's just for the scanning of our records.
$15,136? That's kind of exact, isn't it?
Kind of a random number.
I mean, I have the whole quote.
And
with the
92
specs.
cents or something? Yeah.
Both of them didn't include the cemetery documents, which I know is one of our priorities, to get the
Yeah.
cemetery documents
Yeah.
digitized, because we didn't have the record available in the office, so they didn't know how much they would be scanning.
Mhm.
I just thought I would include that.
So we have 3. The first one only gave you what the cost of their software was. They didn't
Right.
give you what they would charge you to support
You would
it,
like it.
or oh, you have it. Oh, okay, thanks.
I was trying to be useful.
After
This,
the fact. We did it.
Well-
down.
somebody
trying
once
so hard
told
to
me if you
understand.
give people handouts, they don't pay attention to what you're
Well,
saying.
you're probably
Okay.
right.
So,
Okay.
handout
you.
comes after.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Russ. That helps.
Yeah, and then sometimes when people don't give you handouts, then you can't make consistent notes, or you don't have to take notes, Rose.
Okay.
But
It works for me though, Michelle. So are you going to email this to Michelle?
Yeah, I can email this to
Yeah,
Michelle.
okay.
That's fine.
Michelle Tremblay.
Yeah.
question on all of this is that I assume that this is for the sort of permanent records that we don't have to worry about, at least for the moment. We don't have to worry about them in the short term, so things that can be destroyed, for instance, is that correct?
Right.
We're looking
Well,
to
one of the
preserve-
things that is beneficial about all three of these softwares is that when we scan stuff in, we can set dates of when these records are to be removed, so that we would no longer have to worry about going into the vault and throwing it away, because it would automatically be thrown away. So at the end of the year, whenever the record's date goes up, an email would go to whoever was in charge of that record, and they would get a chance to review the record to decide if they wanted to keep it or not. If they didn't want to keep it, it would be disposed of. If they did want to keep it, there was an option for that, and they could continue to retain it.
Which company was this?
All three of them do the
Oh,
same
all
thing.
three of them.
All
So-
three of them
Okay,
have
so
that
they
option.
do
Wouldn't-
have an alert.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
you have the actual physical record in the safe, in the vault?
So-
And this would make it so you could look it up easy.
Well, that is also true, but one of the reasons we would want to move towards one of these systems is to get away from putting stuff in the vault, because we can keep stuff in a record in PDFA, and this would adopt ways so that we no longer have to store certain files in the vault. They would be stored digitally
Okay.
as opposed to being in the vault.
Okay,
And
unless
as we
it's
know-
specified in the RSA that you have.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
But most of the RSA and the laws have been changed that if it's stored in PDFA, it counts as being stored
Okay, all
digitally.
right, you answered my question, thanks.
So now I'm going to go over, because I feel like Vista, the first one, is just completely out of the ballpark. Because they don't include the document scanning, and it's just way above everything else. So I didn't know if we wanted to even consider that. I think that's just, Straight X.
Did you talk to them on the phone? Did they understand what they were?
they did. I
Quoting.
told them we wanted 5 licenses. We were looking for digital software. They showed me their software. I'm like, this is what we're looking for. And then
Yeah.
asked them for a quote. They were the first quote we received. I can always reach out to them again and let them know that they bid way out of the ballpark to see if they could put in another bid. But
Well,
that's
I think my initial thing is I like having someone a little closer than Texas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that, the other two are in Manchester.
right.
Yeah.
Great.
And the other two are very close to each other.
Yeah.
Like they're within $1,000 of each other. So I think it comes down to what is actually provided in the quote to determine what it can be used for.
Which one would you recommend?
I personally like Inception Technologies
Okay.
because their software is more versatile and can be used for more things in the future.
And is that the fellow that was here the other day?
Correct, that's the one you talked to. And he believed he talked to the other two when they were in the office about setting up completely virtual chains so that no physical documents are created and it's automatically stored as we're creating the documents or the work orders.
Did he give you a list of other communities that have this?
He did
Salem,
say Wyndham.
Salem and Wyndham both use this software.
Salem and Wyndham?
And Russ, question, on New England records, I don't know if I got this right, but it's $150 a month for 30 gigabytes of storage.
Correct.
Did I hear that correctly? And what is, the cost for the, if I heard correctly, 20 gigabytes of storage for Inception?
Inception just includes the 20 gigabytes of cloud storage. That's included
Okay.
in their bid.
Is it 30 or is it 3?
Oh, 20, sorry.
No, I meant a New England document.
No, it's 3.
So
So
3
this,
gig is
okay.
$150 a month?
right, so this is what you can use this or this, but we're gonna end up using both because one of the things I want for this is I want it to be available on the town website. So any record that's available for the public to look at, I want the public to be able to go in and look at it at any time. So we would be using this service for that on-site, online license.
Does
Is
the
there
nine?
any,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, is
No.
there anything that needs to be sequestered, such as, non-public session meeting documents, or are there any sort of privacy-related documents, like vital records, that won't be available online?
So we've
Yeah,
already
that's, yeah.
we did discuss that with
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
And the way we set it up is, he would set up the users, so say for example, only Michelle would be able to view motor vehicle records and vital record stuff, and nobody else in the town office would be able to look at it. It would be for the town clerk's eyes only. And for non-public minutes, I don't think we keep those in the virtual format at all. I just don't think we would do that even in the future. I think we would continue. We
But
store
you
them.
can keep them as Word documents though, right?
So generally, I feel like, I don't know how Dana does it, but then my understanding is we type them in Word, and as soon as they're approved, we delete them. And then they're just kept in an envelope, in a filing cabinet, locked up.
I take them, I password protect them if they are sealed. If
Okay.
they're not sealed, I don't.
Well, then we could continue to do it
So,
virtually.
I mean, I think that, I kinda like the idea of just including them and not, being able to pick which ones are visible and which ones are not.
Right, so we can,
Yeah. On the New England documents, I see $12.50 per year. What did you say that was? That was per user, right?
$250 per user, but I priced it out for 5 users. So New England Document Solution gave me the price for 1 user in their quote, so I just times all their numbers by 5 to make it match what I asked Inception to do.
Okay, and Inception, it's $19.95.
Well, no, that's not per year, that's per 10-hour block.
Okay, so I'm not talking the same thing.
That's
No.
only if we needed their,
If we need their
Assistant.
services, we buy their services in 10-hour blocks. They do not have an annual subscription.
Okay, so if you use them 1 hour, do you have to buy the 10-hour block, or
Yeah,
do they
nine left.
bank 9?
I would have to ask them, but I believe we bank 9 hours.
Okay.
So we buy the 10 hours initially, we bank the rest.
Okay.
So we could put money in the budget each year to say, we want to make sure we have this much money banked,
Mhm.
and if we don't, we could say put it back in the fund balance
Mhm.
at the end of the year to offset taxes the next year if the board wanted to use
sounds
that.
good.
But we would, of course, want to at least have some support available every year for new documents.
So, I don't really understand the gigabytes.
The storage?
Is 20, am I looking at reasonable storage amounts?
So I think most of our stuff is going to be stored in here in the office. It's on our server. So I'm not sure what the cloud service is for us included. So I don't know if we would need that 150 other than for the license that's on the website.
Mhm.
But it's kind of like they both include something. They have a billing, I can show you this. Depending on how much cloud storage you want, it goes up with
Okay.
New England Document Systems based on what we would need.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm running a scan right now of my data, not including email files, and I'm already up to almost 30 gigabytes for whatever that is worth.
Yeah.
So
So I,
that amount of gigabytes doesn't impress me a great deal. I do a terabyte of backup every day, and that doesn't include all operational files. It includes some of the app data roaming files, and
Right.
it includes all of the out and out data, like, my documents. So to me, that is most unimpressive.
right, but like I said, most of our stuff is gonna be on our server.
That's a very
For most
nice
of
way
this
to put
document?
that.
I agree, I 100% agree. And I'm not sure, does the town server have a cloud backup? I know we were looking at moving in that direction in the future for a cloud server.
Didn't we have to get a bigger server?
We did have to get a bigger server, and I believe we already do have a backup server.
It is backed up, and I'm sorry to tell you, I'm not quite sure what it goes, but
I'm
something
not
that-
sure either, I know we have the
Yeah.
server, we know we have a
It backs
backup.
up, and I believe that if something were to happen, the Computech would be able to recover it.
Correct. So I think this would follow under the same situation.
And I would say, I have to do this a lot for my own business and for clients, but I would say that cloud is great and it's automatic and it's easy, but at some point you might want to consider doing some kind of hard disk kind of backup, because if you were to go out of business and you had to restore from the cloud, it's a slow, long wait. And you can grab something here and something there, but to have something like to have something like this, which is a terabyte, and you can get them larger, like a Seagate, I think that that's a really good option, because if something goes down, I've got it in my hand and I take it off site, so it never is in the same place as my computer, except right now when it's doing a backup, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
still
goes
do
in the
that for
car.
the police. I bring it here
Yep.
and I swap it once a week.
Yep. I carry mine around, I put it in the car, I put it in the shed, I put it wherever I'm not with my computer, and that way if my house blows up, then I've got bigger problems probably than thinking about that at the moment, but I do have data that are safe.
So that's something we might want to talk to Computech about, is to see where our backup server is, so we know.
So where do you think we are with this process?
So I think we just basically it's between New England Document Systems and Inception Technologies.
And then it would go, then you'd send this off to the select board?
Right, so I'm just looking for a recommendation from the committee, so that when I present the bids, I can say I've reviewed the bids with the records committee and we put our stamp of approval on this one. This is what we think would be best for the town's needs.
So you're the most knowledgeable, Russ, in having contacted and spoken with all three. Which one do you like the best?
Like I said, I like Inception Technologies the best because I think their software is more versatile. Because I, come from a culinary background. I like it. I don't want a tool that just does one thing. If I'm going to invest and spend money on something, I want that to be versatile and be able to adapt based on my needs. So I don't want to ever buy one piece of equipment that only does one job, if I can avoid it. And for Inception Technologies, they really do, on the back end, trying to adapt, say, for example, setting up digital forms. So if somebody wanted to file for an electric inspection, they had to fill out that form, they would with them be able to create an online form that they could access through the town's website to request an inspection, send it directly to my computer so I can review that inspection. I can respond through that to go back to them to say, this is the account, the credit card, you can pay it over here, sign off on that, and then that would automatically go to Tom Bay to go out and do the inspection. Now this is in the future, this is not something we would do right away. We just do the basic document systems. But that's, say, something we could add in the future to make our processes a little bit easier and a little bit more convenient for the residents.
But would we still have, to accommodate those residents that don't have a computer or internet, we could still have those
Physical
forms
copies,
available
correct.
here? Okay.
Good, but I mean, I'm just saying off of me, I deal
Yeah.
with a lot of inspection companies that aren't even in town. I have somebody who's coming out of Mass who's mailing me a check to do an inspection because we have no credit card capabilities or the ability to sign off on that, so they have to snail mail it in.
Yes, I hear that people want the online services.
Right. And the same thing for, like, say, filing for a building permit or a ZBA application. They could do that all online and submit the supporting documents without ever having to come into the office. And it would automatically file itself, which is also convenient. For example, if we make our minutes all in the same format, for example, I use the same format every time I do minutes. Inception Technology has AI in it, which will read the document that I save to it and automatically file it for me without me having to put in all the information. It'll just say, okay, save it to PDF, label it appropriately, and put it in the document, as long as you follow the same format. If you switch permits, you'll have to retrain the AI how to read it, which I also think is convenient.
And I understand that you want a spatula and a ladle at the same time. I totally get that, and I agree with you. 2 questions. One of them, did New England Records have references? I'd be curious, not that I'm thrilled about their pricing and their storage either. And then the second question is will they provide sort of like a card catalog kind of location for hard copy files, so when they come in, they look at a record, they say, it's here, or they label a hard copy file drawer or something like that, so that when the alert comes, like, you can ditch this now, that it's easy to find what to ditch, because I think that removes a major obstacle to getting rid of things and not wasting that alert service. So again, the referral and then that long question.
Yeah. So I think both companies do the whole labeling and taking care of that aspect of it as part of their scanning process. So one of the things that I'm going to have to work on as part of our scanning is a lot of the files aren't labeled the way we do them currently. So I'm going to have to go back. For example, like ZBA case files, I would name them with the property, that the address it was going to, the name, and what it was. Was it a special exception, a variance, and whether it was approved or not? That's not included on all of them. However, both Inceptions and document systems would create a filing catalog for both of those and include that as that software. And once they create that catalog, we have access to that catalog and we can adjust it as we need to. And when we add new files, we would use that catalog to add the new files, especially for Inception or New England. New England, when you add a document, you go into the catalog and you select what catalog you want it to go into and then put it in. If that answers your question. And for recommendations, I know they had recommendations, but I don't remember the towns they've worked with before off the top of my head.
I was just curious, I mean, Inception sounds really good, but to have only 2 towns as references seems surprising.
Well, I think they probably do have more than 2 towns. Those are just the 2 that they talked to me about. Because Salem, I know Salem. I used to work in Salem, and I used to work with the people that are now currently using their software, and they highly recommend it. They say it's been great for their assessing systems, and it has made their lives infinitely easier.
So you're from the deep south, Ross?
Well, I live in Manchester, but I used to work in Salem. That was my job before this job.
Okay, alright, I guess that's alright.
And Michelle, I don't know if you had a chance to talk to Nikki and Wyndham. No? Okay. So I haven't talked to Nikki and Wyndham. She's the town clerk for Wyndham.
Well, I think, cause your hope, Russ, is to get a decision today to be able to bring to the board.
To the select board for the next meeting so we can plan regarding the budget.
Well, can't we just like come up with a number, cause a lot of these are very, the 2 that we've narrowed it down to are very similar. Can't we just have a number for the budget, but not necessarily have a decision
Well,
of
that's...
the company?
Yes, that's also true.
Okay.
But also on this, on a fun note, because Alice printed that out, the Treasury has come up with its final ruling for ARPA. And now we can claim up to $10 million as unanticipated revenue. So in other words, all the brake pads that were holding us up before
Yep.
for some of these projects are now gone, so this project would qualify
Okay.
as part of upgrading regular governmental services.
But would still have to be in the budget.
It would still have to be in
Okay.
the budget, but it would be offset by the revenue from ARPA. If the board approves it, because once again, I think we're discussing that at our
Well,
next.
it wouldn't have to be in the budget if it's coming out of
It
ARPA,
wouldn't?
because ARPA comes out of 3195, which is you don't have to appropriate
So that's not
for
like a
ARPA.
grant?
Yeah, it's a little,
It's a
well,
little
it is a
different.
grant.
Sorry
but
for
it's-
not.
Well,
No.
when I won the grant, because I got schooled the hard way.
Mhm. Usually you do.
Or maybe that's why I remember it.
Yeah.
Michelle disappeared.
You still there, Michelle?
I am here, I just muted in case there was background noise, I can hear you all.
Oh, okay.
We like looking at you, Michelle. We were scared.
Well, when I mute, it turns off the camera?
Yeah.
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 Okay, well, let me try something different.
Suddenly you were
Back
gone.
on.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I was, I had to stand up at town meeting and ask for them to budget the expense of basically the equivalent of my grant, because I couldn't receive the grant unless there was an expenditure or something.
Well, it may be different for different grants. I'd
Okay.
have to look at it, but I do know the ARPA funds, you do not have to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think if anything, we could move forward with the money request.
I think
Right.
the board is gonna wanna have a dollar amount
Right.
in there.
And I can give a dollar amount, and like I said, they're both, one's like 25 all said and done, and the other one's like 23.8 all said and done, so they are super close
So even if you
together.
go to the 25
Yeah,
Right.
and err on the higher one.
right.
Right.
Mr. Michelle, were you hoping to maybe research or explore some of the references from these?
No, not at all. I trust you, Russ, and everyone. I was just curious, like, it just seemed like thin with 2, and, I wanted to juxtapose that with number 2.
Right, and I
don't
think
get-
they're both,
Yeah, it's no big deal, and I was gonna suggest that we go to an up to amount to allow a little bit of, buffer in case there's something unexpected that comes up, so adding everything together in number 3, and letting everybody know that, but putting in some kind of override if that's
Right.
possible, legally speaking. You'd hate to see the deal get soured because we didn't, know that we were supposed to be telling them about something
Right.
and finding out it required additional costs.
Well, originally, my plan had been, with the record scanning, we wouldn't need all the records done at the same time, and that's the biggest bulk of the expenditure. So we were gonna
Yep.
split that into different blocks. So in each quote, I had them block out the different departments individually, so we could do a certain portion of it each year. However, with the new ruling from Treasury, I see that's a good opportunity just to get it all in and get it all done.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Russ, for researching all of this, and you're gonna be our go-to person on how to
Well,
make it
I'm-
happen.
I would hope my next step is, once we picked one that we think we wanna go with, we can have them come in and maybe talk to the committee and the select board and kind of go over what the software could be used for, and then make our final decision. That might be a possibility. Because obviously I'm the only one who really has talked to any of these people. And I'm sure other people have questions that I can't answer because it's more technical. For example, I'm sure one of our select board members is gonna have a lot of technical questions that I will not be able to answer,
Sure.
no matter how much I prepare.
Well, for the purposes of this, I make a motion that we recommend to the board Inception Technologies, and with an estimated total cost of $25,000.
I second that. Oh,
I'm in favor.
Yeah.
everyone in
Aye.
favor?
Yeah.
That leaves nobody to oppose.
And then we can, do we want somebody to sign on behalf of, well, you're all in the office, so I can just type out the letter, finish it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
Are you all set?
that's all set with this one, and then we have the next one, I think.
Okay, can we jump back and
Oh.
approve the minutes from our last meeting
Sure.
in October? I think that was our last meeting.
It was
We-
October
We
19th.
canceled the November meeting, in December, so did anyone have any changes or corrections to the
Nope.
October minutes?
I just want to note, I didn't actually get them, but I think it would be good to note that I did not know about said meeting, or I would have been there. So something probably slipped by, so maybe just note that I was, excused or something that doesn't, point to any weirdness for someone, and then I'll abstain from the vote.
Okay. Can you add that in?
Yes.
All right, would the amended minutes be approved by everyone? Say aye.
So I motion to approve the minutes from
October.
October 19, 2021 as amended.
Second. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. And Michelle
Abstain.
abstained.
Yeah, and I don't know if I should vote on the minute taker, so.
we,
We have the power, right?
I've got the power.
All right, so you said you had one more?
I
one
thought they
more
were
thing?
excellent minutes, I might add, yeah.
Yes, and if you could email them to me along with the handout, that'd be great.
Yep.
Will do.
So the last subject is for a record retention policy that we approved. I think we approved it at the last meeting.
Yes.
We're supposed to have an appendix on it.
Well, the board approved it.
The board and select board approved it, correct?
Yes.
So we're supposed to have attach an appendix. So I'm saying for now, since the RSA already includes the appendix, that we use that as our appendix. And then I will create, say, an Excel spreadsheet that we can.
I was doing that.
Oh, you were doing that. Michelle will create
I was doing
an
that.
Excel spreadsheet for future editions that we can all edit and say we want to request this be put onto the record retention appendix. And then when we meet the board next, we can vote on whether we keep it or not.
Have you heard from any other committees or boards?
No, I
Dana?
haven't, Michelle, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I just got something that I want to talk about. So we do town hall rental records. How far back do we want to keep the rental
Well,
records?
I think we're gonna spend some time adding to this
Right.
As it
appendix as we
comes
go,
along, yeah.
you know.
But that's why I'm saying if we're going to meet like maybe once every, or twice a year or something like that.
Yeah.
We go through and say, these are all the things we think should be added. And
I
then we
like
do
that.
one vote.
Yeah. Because you can send them to me as you get them, or you can just maintain your own list, but then we could flag it in some way that these are the documents that have been added since we met last.
Right. But yeah, I think we should just staple the RSA to it for now, so
Yep,
we have
yep.
an appendix.
I like that idea.
Are you all in agreement? Should we motion it?
Well, we have to go by the RSA anyway, so why
Correct.
not?
So
You know?
that's why I
Yeah.
thought it was.
Yeah.
It's just our
easy.
spreadsheet would be more department based on, and what department is in charge of it and where it might be located, and
Right.
it was just,
Well, and I think you'll
broader.
get there. I mean, I think you'll
Yeah,
get there
baby
as we
steps.
go, yeah.
do you think we need a motion for that?
No, I think we
Okay.
should just do it.
Alright.
Because it's already says in the RSA that we're following the RSA, so we'll just say this is a part of the
Theoretically,
appendix.
yeah.
Alright, do we have anything else?
Do we want to set a date for the next meeting? Or what happens when the select board, do we need to do anything more once the select board makes a decision?
I don't
As
think
far
so.
as a committee?
As far as this committee is concerned?
I don't-
Probably not. Yeah.
Unless they have that meeting that Russ was talking about where,
we want to talk to have them, first the representative come in.
Oh, come in, okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming we're gonna end up having a training with the software and all of this as well at some point.
It's always helpful if you can have someone come in and talk about these, you know,
Right.
so because they
so
like
that
to see.
people, I would like that, so that you would know what it is they're gonna be looking for when they come in to do this scanning.
Right.
And not be caught off guard. But your thought was are they gonna scan all at once, or are they only implementing, say, your office first, and then
So we could do it that way, but since the funds are available, we could do it all at once, or we could phase it over a couple of years. I think
Okay.
that's a discussion we can have once we choose. My big thing is I want to get the software implemented, so records going forward are stored digitally,
Yeah.
so we're not, and then we'll backlog what we already have in paper.
And we're just suggesting they take the money out of the ARPA funds. They may,
Correct, they may say no.
nix that, or they may have
Yeah.
us take it somewhere else, or they may not approve the project,
Right,
you know.
that's always a possibility.
Mhm.
But that's one of the things I will argue for, is that you never get a grant for upgrading technology.
I'm
It
not
just
saying that
doesn't
because I think
happen.
that's gonna happen, I'm just saying
Well, I'm
that,
just saying,
yeah.
part of my argument is that you never get a grant for upgrading your technology or your computer, so this is a really unique scenario where we have an opportunity to put everything in a digital format, so that in the future is going more and more paperless. I think it's good to prepare now while the funds are available.
And so is this
Oh, go ahead, Michelle, I'm sorry.
is
Please.
this a decision by the board, or does it have to go to the voters? Do you know?
I think the board can decide this.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There are some that would
It's
like
because
everything
it's
to go to the
operational
voters, you know, but
Type of,
but it's,
So we don't have to worry
think
about it.
there's ever gonna be a way to do this on the cheap, you know, how sometimes you hear people say that's such a ton of money, you know, I could spend a few weeks doing it and I could make $15,000, or I could do it for free and avoid the charge, but I think we need to make it clear that this is not something that can be done over a period of years or spare time. It has to be done professionally because it is public records, and you know, let everyone know maybe going forward that PDFs will be saved and that those can perhaps be uploaded to a system where they can be put somewhere where they're accessible. I don't know if that's possible to show that we may not always need to have a gigantic scanning contractor.
I think this would be the initial scanning will be the biggest
Right,
part
and
of
then
it.
we'll be maintaining the
And
scanning
there are
going
some
forward.
very sensitive documents that will be part of it.
Right, and that's one of the things I talked to them about, is for example, the older records, such as the old cemetery records, if they have the capability to scan these older documents without damaging, and both companies did.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So my thought is that we don't set up another meeting date, because the only thing that we have would be this project,
Right,
the record scanning project.
right, that would be the next step, or adopting the system, and say if it didn't go with the record scanning all at once, we would be hopefully getting the software.
So maybe the next time this committee would need to meet, if this went through and the board approved it and we were going to go forward with it, the board might want to be in, this committee might want to be involved with the details.
Yeah.
Cool. Then I think we can adjourn.
Okay.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
All right. Let's adjourn. It is 2:05. All those in favor?
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
Second, Michelle.
All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Live long and
Alright.
prosper.
Thank you, Russ.
Yeah, let's hope. Okay.